All right. Hello. So this is first stream ever, but I think the goal of this stream, at least for the next hour-ish, is to kind of just walk through my thought process and kind of talk out loud as I design. Because I feel like one of the things that I personally wish I had as a designer is to like to have other people to talk through these ideas with, or just like have a way to catalog the way that I was thinking about approaching certain things. And so I feel like this will be a really good vehicle to be able to do that effectively. So for the next couple of weeks, months, however long it might be, I'm going to be designing basically a new event branding for one of the events that I ran like last year, called Catapult. It was essentially like this startup incubator mixed in with like a little bit of a hackathon. Just like the vibe was to build an MVP and be able to ship it, and that's what the event was designed for. So that that event happened like last March of 2024, and we started putting the event together in like February. So we basically had like 4 to 6 weeks to throw everything together, and so haphazardly, everything was kind of just thrown at the wall. It took us like 3 weeks of the 6 weeks to even come up with the name Catapult. So, we were really crunched for time coming up with branding design. It was all really crazily thrown together. But somehow we made it work and a lot of people came, which is really exciting. So just to do like a little bit of a background, um, the current website that we have uh, that kind of showed the vibe. So as you can see, like we have this really cute logo that I designed. It has like this motion graphic of an actual like catapult launching something. Because the idea is like you're supposed to launch your product or your company by the end of this. So the aesthetic we had was this very grainy, like blue, teal, purple aesthetic. Um, like all of our sponsors, kind of just the branding of like this was a collaborative event between two different orgs. What the goals were, had some of the pictures. So this was like the very rudimentary aesthetic that we had. And I mean, even with like the slightly updated aesthetic, if we go to founders and catapult, like even this aesthetic is fairly similar. Like if you refresh, we still have a similar logo and whatnot. Photos from the actual event, things that happened. Um, Regardless, like this was really crazily put together. Um, and I wanted to kind of just take a step back and really dive deeper into what this event is. How can we rebrand it in a way that still pays homage to how this thing was thrown together, how we literally launched an MVP version of this event, and then still like push forward and create a new brand. So when doing that, I feel like one of the cool things that I always take a look at is like other events that are really, really successful. And since I'm a designer, I look at a lot of design events. So if we think about like Config, this is like the Figma design conference that happens. I attended Config this year, and when showing up at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, you could see that there was a lot of detail and attention given to just different things. And so they actually wrote like a little bit of a blog on how do they craft this visual identity for Config, what did this look like? And so, I mean, even if you look a little bit further, it's like, the brand studio talks about how you can make this really cool, like, conference experience, ranging from digital surfaces, having like swag bags, different touch points, maps, whatever it might be. There's a lot that goes into making a sort of event. And so, if you take a look, this was their conference. They obviously had a lot more space um, than what like a small event would probably have for a venue, but you can see every single element from the signs, to the actual structures and infrastructure. Um, a lot of these things were guided by certain principles, and so it was really interesting to look at that, the idea of movement, how do you amplify the creative vision, multi-modality for creation. So how does that get reflected in sort of their design system? And so, they're talking about how you have this like primitive shape system as like a building block, so then you can make all these really cool dynamic elements. Um, so, we can see a couple more here for like graphics based on those like elements. Um, it came to life on like screens so that anytime that there were screens present all around the conference, they had these graphics and you could tell it was like one unified brand under Figma, which was super interesting. So, if we like even look through these ones, it's really cool. Um, so, like, I would also even say, like, having motion design was really interesting. So, like, I experimented with motion design with Catapult by having that little arc actually launch something. So I feel like there could be something there as well to play with. Um, but as you see, like based on like these different themes, like shift, transform, amplify, activate. In my mind, these are like very designery things, or this is like a very San Francisco, like Silicon Valley mindset of like adding like buzzwords or things like that to amplify these certain feelings. I think just keeping it rudimentary is probably better. But this was like their opening video that they had, which is really cool. I'm not going to go through all of it, but adding even motion to the website. So like if you go on the config website, you can clearly see that like even when hovering on each letter, there's like a different aesthetic that pops up. So very interesting branding design style. So, how do we replicate this? How do we make this somewhat interesting? Um, and how do we take some of the core elements of this and implement it into something as simple as like an event that I'm running myself? So if we take a look, um, what could be a lot of fun is what could be really fun is essentially opening up Figma and showing you guys what we had last year as well. So on top of the website, we obviously had different like physical materials, social media posts, things like that. So as you can see, this is the logo that I designed, some variations of it. We want, since last year we had a huge focus on AI. How do we take the catapult, add a little eye dash at the end and make that kind of another logo? How do we add these like gradients, playing around with a couple of concepts with like hands, with the lines for motion, things like that. But we kind of ended up on this like certain aesthetic that I think really played well. One of the other things that was really difficult for us was figuring out how do we brand or how do we explain to people what this is? Because most people, if they think of a hackathon, they don't think of creating a startup. If they think of creating a startup, they don't think hackathon. So how do we phrase this in a way that could be really interesting to all types of people, not just like hardcore developers or engineers, but also business people, liberal arts, creatives, whatever it might be. Get all those different disciplines to actually come together and show up. We weren't as successful at that for this first time around, but this is like one of the things that I want to consider when building out this new system. So, sponsor posts, things like that, a phone wallpaper for when I'm live at the event, different organizer badges. So, this is for like the name badges, different t-shirt mock-ups that we made. What color scheme did we want? If we had stickers, what would the stickers have looked like? Different signs. So again, all of these things are like considerations for what we exactly want to do. So I've already gotten to work a little bit on what I want this new system to look like. So I can just walk you through it, but then, for the rest of the time, I'm gonna actually like do a little bit of hardcore design and start building it out. So as you can see, this is kind of the new aesthetic that I am going for. As you can see, there's a new typeface, so a new font, and I don't know if you can notice, but between version 1 of the logo, if I get this older version, bring it over, I'll just put it on the side. I think you'll notice that this, like, the catapult itself is a lot thinner. So it's a little bit more sleek. We have like a different typeface that I think caters itself more to the demographic we're looking for. Also, like the branding, at least the subtitle that I'm adding that for this time is like a 36-hour startup sprint. So I don't know. I'm gonna play around with that phrasing. I want something that reflects that it's not just a hackathon, but you can create and launch a startup in just 36 hours. I want that angle to be shown. still work in progress, but as you can see, like a difference in an improvement. Also, as you can see right over here, I'm kind of playing around with which direction I want the catapult to go. I was thinking of this one because, like catapult, it's like the first two letters A and T. Plus, as we saw with the motif earlier, having like the AI element might be interesting. What I realized is I feel like with this version, it not only can it like show like forward momentum, but if I do that animation as I did last time, I can have the ball come into the U, and I feel like there's just more opportunities for animating when it's in this orientation. So again, these are like the little design considerations that I think about, all of these different variations. This is like the font without the little graphic in between. So just normal catapult. This is just with not in all caps. Um, and then yeah, the color scheme. I mean, I made like local variables. Probably gonna change all these names because these sound kind of bourgeoisie, but like kind of going with that blue and green and like teal aesthetic, I feel like it could be really interesting. Kind of striving away from the purple because I think again we want subtle hints that this is still like a hackathon, like you're actually supposed to be building and launching something by the end of this. And I feel like the traditional like black and green coding aesthetic has been done before, but I wanted to take like a different spin on it. And so that was like one of those things. And then in terms of like the graphics and the patterns, one of the things that I wanted to like show is like motion, right? The goal is to launch. I want people to launch a product to do something meaningful. And so I feel like this has a really cool swooping motion, moving into the next thing. So these are like the different patterns I've been working on. I spent like an hour on this um like last night. And so gonna continue to build these things out. But before I do that, I was actually gonna make a list of all of the different elements that we would probably need to have. Just so you guys think about just how many things and just how many different elements have to be made for just a singular brand. So I'm just gonna we're just gonna go up here. So let's just do this at 15. Okay, so obviously we need to have like banners. Okay, well, let's do no traditional lock. Okay, so we need to have like banners. So um, what kind of banners? Well, we need to have like table banners. Some for tables. We need to have like digital banners, so like LinkedIn, um, probably Luma banners, um, probably vertical ones, and then like we'll probably need to obviously have socials, so Square for like Instagram, flyers, so paper ones, stories. What else would there be? For socials, I mean, if we want to like give people wallpapers, so that's like the first set. And then we would also need to make like slide decks because we're gonna have to make presentations. And we want to give participants like templates if needed. So templates, um, like actual like internal docs, menus, if like food menus. Actually, we'll add that under something else. But like in terms of slide decks, idea slide, aesthetic. What else will we need? Probably get like actual physical infrastructure. So physical stuff. Again, like posters, signs, um, a map, menu, shirts, stickers, name badges, What else? Let's take a look at what we did for version one. Oh yeah, okay. So another thing, we need to have like the square logo. Uh, Profile pictures, right? What else is there? We have stickers, all of these things. Oh, TV advertisements. Okay. So probably we'll put that, yeah, TV ads. What else would there be? So I think for right now, kind of covered most of it. So again, as you see, this is already a lot to do. On top of this, like we have the website, we have our like Luma page, all the different branding things that need to be done. And so, I try to pull together as much inspiration as possible. So like, I really got inspired by this. This really helped dictate the like motion design and everything. I really like this style or this aesthetic or a variation of it for name badges. So maybe there's something that we can use here. Taking a look at other things that have been branded for like hackathons or things like that. I like this blocky aesthetic. Um, there might be something there with like doing cutoffs of logos or different verticals having different color schemes. Still thinking about it, but there's always something interesting that can be played around with. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot to build and a lot to design. So I'm gonna actually move it over here and I'm gonna make a section out of it. Okay. So now that we have that, we can kind of get started. One more thing. I keep piling on, but I think one of the interesting things here is I thought like I had a really creative idea for this time around is that like this T and A or A and T, having this like catapult logo could be really cool to add into different words. So that as we do like marketing promotions and things like that, like there's like some sort of brand continuity when they see certain words. So I asked ChatGPT to list out a bunch of words that might be startup related, but that have like the A and T in conjunction so that we could play around with adding it in so that we don't need to overtly advertise like catapult, catapult, catapult. We can be like, we should show these words or different things, and this can be used as part of like pushing the brand momentum forward. So, like innovate, validate, iterate. Like these are all words that we're probably going to be using somewhere in the event. So it would be really cool if we add, the catapult logo to replace this and all of that. So, strategy, replace. So this will be interesting. Attain is a fun word because who knows? We might just do a double. Um, but oh, material. Yep, material has the AT. So yeah. All right. Without further ado, I'm just gonna dive right in to make a couple more patterns and then start to make a couple of these as needed. Okay. So I like this one. These are kind of cool. Honestly, let's do this. Okay, what other aesthetic should we do? I really like the motion. Let's see. Is there a way to maybe crop some of it? Like, what if we play around? We have more vertical overlap. Mm, I kind of prefer if we keep it like a little bit more open. Can keep it like that. Okay, so what type of, let's see, if we start with banners, we should, yeah, let's just start with banners. If I click F, I have a frame. I can then like pick different banner styles. Like we can just pick this. Since I already have the local styles available, I can just click and it already gets made. I can also then start to do variations. So, for instance, we don't need to just use the dark blue. We can also use the green as a base. Which green should I use? Ooh, I kind of like that. It pops. Um, okay. If we do this, yeah, we can do a variation on this where, you have like the catapult with the two logos together. That could be interesting. So let's do that. Okay, first, let's label these. How tall is this? 75? I think if we do that, that could be interesting. Or if we do the lighter variation, because this is aquamarine, these two should also be aquamarine. Then what we can do is we can start to add some of these patterns in. Um, and we can also add like a variation of this. So, boom. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's start this. Oh, that doesn't change anything. Okay. Okay, but now you see how it's not visually balanced, so I'm not a fan of that. Um, what we can do is then take this graphic, add it, twist it a little bit. Actually, which side? Yeah, there, that side. I feel like if we do something like that, interesting. Do we even need this? Let's see. What if we duplicate this, flip it, flip it, put it in, and do something like that. That could be interesting. I kind of dig that. A couple of banners like that, and then basically what we can then do is have that just be replicated here, except change the fill to the blue. Stroke becomes the blue. That's interesting. But then I added these effects to the logo. Um, what if we just... Well, wasn't their logo looks kind of weird. Hmm. Okay, let's... okay. Or why does this look weird? So increase the blur, that's a lot. I feel like if we do, let's stick with 5. But I don't want it to be imbalanced, so we'll add this back. Make this 0. Then that looks interesting. See, I kind of like that. Um, but I feel like let's not make the same pattern because I want to offer some variety because I know it works, you know what I mean? So, um, we can try this pattern style, pattern 1. What if we smush it? Smush it a little bit more. Yeah, make it 20. Then we have this. Okay. Ooh, like, see, that's cool. That's interesting. Let's just make it visually balanced. There we go. It still does not look visually balanced. All right, cool. So now we have like 2 variations for a banner that I like. And hold up, just because I hate increasing our file size. Now we're being efficient. Okay, so now we have a couple of banners based on this preset of patterns. So I feel like one of the things that I learned even from like config is that once you develop like a pattern library or something that has like those like brand elements inside of it, it makes it much easier to just like plug and play as you see like with all of these different um, like elements, like even the physical elements that they have, like these little kite aesthetic styles, it's like an elongation of the brand. And as you see, like as much as I don't like the names, but like it does show some really interesting concepts. Like that was converted into a physical form. The transform was really powerful. So like I feel like this is really interesting once you have like these systems built, and that's why like the concept of a design system is like really, really valuable. So, a lot of really fun and good inspiration here. Um, but I don't want to just take it from like one place, right? So, if we were to like look at, say, my favorite company, like Apple events, if we go to like all of their different events, right? The glow time aesthetic. You also have all of their past Apple events. They're all, they have a certain aesthetic attached to it and a lot of branding, a lot of different things that come with it. So I feel like there's some really interesting stuff that you can play around with once you understand those like fundamentals. Um, that gradient's so nice. But back to catapult. Just because I am very type A about this, I have a preset in Figma or like a file that I just keep saved that just gives me all the information that I need for all these different files. As you can see, it's pretty old because they deprecated IGTV. It's just Reels, but um, it's it gives me good enough content. So let's see. Like for example, on YouTube, what are the banner sizes that I need? So 2560, 1440. Okay. And then as you can see here, they also mark under 1235, 338. So let's add a subframe. 1235, 338. That will be taken from the center. So I'm just going to mark that. Let's just change this default. Okay. So as you can see, they'll pull from this center frame of the larger banner, but this larger banner is like for YouTube TV, for all these other things. But this is going to be like if you're looking on your phone, What do you see? So again, really good just aesthetically to understand all of these different sizes. Let's try, okay, on Twitter. Okay, 1500 by 500. Let's just put this over here on Twitter. Okay. Should I even do Facebook? I feel like it's not even my demographic, but nah, it's fine. The one that I do want to do is LinkedIn, but I don't remember what LinkedIn's banner size is. Let's go to Founders Club. Okay, first of all, LinkedIn, fix all this. This is really bad. Oh shoot, I can't even find 1128 191. I can't believe I even caught that. Okay. It does see that's not accurate. 1128 by 191. Okay. So, okay, these are all the socials that I really care about. I don't even need two banners for Luma. I think if we're gonna stick with this dark aesthetic, I feel like it's gonna be fine. But I love this pop. I think this pop will be like for highlights, spotlights, features, something. But I really like it. I'm just gonna have to figure out how to make that work. Maybe this will be for in person. Um, okay. Anyway, so what do I want to just emphasize? Because so the banners are really important to kind of like figure out. So like even if we like go onto like the YouTube account for Apple, as you can see, the way that they have it designed is like have a little bit of text, your headline image, and that's it. There's no like learn more, no call to action. And even when they had like these banners for like the Apple event, it was just like the Apple event aesthetic. There was no specification. But I feel like this is not Apple. There's no built-in brand recognition. I want to emphasize, and have some sort of call to action. So I'm contemplating, what do I put? Do I just put the Catapult logo? Do I also put like Catapult plus the dates? Um, hmm. I think for right now, I think the play will just be Catapult plus patterns. Um, but I do really want to revisit. I'll make a note. How about that? Would like to add dates. Question mark. So I'll mark it so that at least we have it logged. But now that we have this like little design system, it makes things a lot easier to just plug and play. Okay, another thing. Even though this banner is like it fits it and it feels really well, it's especially when you're going to see it like on a specific platform, you have to take into consideration how big or small it's going to look. And so for me, this is going to be a little bit too big, so we're going to have to scale this down considerably. 75 is not it. Okay. I don't like 40. Let's do 30. Okay. So now it's a lot smaller. You let the negative space breathe, but now there's opportunities to add patterns on either side. And honestly, I'm kind of digging this line aesthetic, so I'm probably just gonna do that. So let's copy this, let's paste it, then compress it. Should I compress it this much? Okay, what is it originally? Okay, let's first change it to the color that I want it as. Okay, let's make it 10. See how that looks. Okay, you see how these ones are really thick? Not a huge fan of that. So I think we'll just cut. What if we just, okay, instead of cutting 3, let's cut 2. Let's cut it like that. Move it over. Okay, let's cut a couple more. Let's cut these 2. Then let's cut these 2. Yeah, I feel like the same vibe still gets across, but just to make things a little bit safer, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay, cool. I probably will just delete that. Okay, we have a vibe. Now we just flip it, Shift H, then we can just move the whole thing over, and voila, we have a pattern. Um, See, now this feels like really busy. Hmm. What happens if, okay, let's just hide these. That looks a little bit better. Um, what if we just scale the logos down? Scale the logos down and then go back to the lines, unhide them. Honestly, I'm kind of digging that. I feel like the smaller logos, it heeds better. And honestly, I think this will give us the option to add the dates in. Hold up. Let's not make this 35. Let's probably do like 24. What are the implications of this vibe? Okay, let's make this honeydew. Ugh, now the name's sticking. Ugh, okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that, whatever. Or I don't hate that whatsoever. I think this is a little too bland, so let's do, yeah, I think that's interesting. But wait, hold up. Actually, I lied. I like this better. Let's just port this over. I like having that circle. Let's just make this smaller. Have it be 20. Let's still make it honeydew. Actually, should I? Yeah, no, it should be honeydew. Honeydew, and then we can just make the stroke that. Uh, Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'll live with that for now. 15, oh, that's really tall. Let's see, 10, 10. That's too squeezed. Let's keep it at 15. 15. But see, that takes a lot of visual space. If I make this a little smaller. Okay, I don't hate that. And then if I do this again for bulk, do that. Also, another thing is optical balance versus like actual balance. This is not technically centered, but it's optically centered because like when I look at it, it feels more structured. Arguably, I can even push it. Because what's more important to me is that it feels more balanced with the word catapult than it is to actually be balanced on the banner itself. And so that's like a little bit of a design ism that I really care about. So let's make sure that it looks like optically balanced. Yeah, I like that. So now that we have that, we can also now optically balance the whole thing. Cool. Okay, actually, wait, no, I think that's too high. Let's just see what happens. Where is the optical balance? That. Yeah. Okay. I think this is pretty solid. Um, like you have the optical balancing, you have everything that I wanted. I want the date and the venue. The pattern is there. We have this like tricolor format, right? You know, we have the honeydew, we have the aquamarine, and then we have the space blue. Um, I think this kind of hits. I really like it. Okay. So now we can just like continue porting this aesthetic over. And I feel like with this, with the YouTube banner especially, I feel like we have an opportunity to do something interesting where we can have a giant or a much larger pattern that still fits within the vibe. But then we can have the concentrated like catapult. And I don't think we even need to use the lines. We can start using this like more like flavorful pattern. Um, here, which actually could be really interesting. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's copy this, paste it in here. Okay, and just bear with me, but what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to just add a stroke, and I'm just gonna make that stroke more apparent so that I know visually that inside this frame is where the phone banner is going to be, and then I can plan the pattern accordingly. I only have about 10 minutes left before I have to hop off, but let's do this. Okay, again, let's do the optical balancing. I like that. Honestly, I think given the fact that this is a banner within a banner, I think we can just scale this up. But first, actually, let's get rid of these for right now, and let's just focus on scaling this. I use shift to drag. And honestly, with this system, I can fill this a little bit more, and I can fill this way more and still have the heart there because again, banner within a banner. So I like this system. Um, let's let's do 50. Let's have some fun. And then with these, we're gonna go back to our 25, 20, maybe? Definitely not. I think we need to add more padding. Or maybe these are a little too big. Let's go back to 40. Ooh, let's do 35. And then let's add another stroke layer. I want to keep it thin. Okay, cool. Okay, again, I don't want it to be actually centered. I want it to be optically centered, which means I'll push it over this way. And voila. I think we have the internal banner pretty solid. Um, Now let's add the pattern. I like let's implement this one. Pattern 4. So now another nice thing about having these like pre-built patterns now like designed is I can just scale them for my use. And honestly, I actually think I'll do it this way. This actually could be much more interesting. Also, what if I have it in like different sizes? Nah, maybe. Ooh, okay. This adds some personality. Then let's remove the stroke. See, that's pretty cool. I kind of dig that. I like that. Also, I kind of like the pattern having like this motion that's like a catapult. Like, like when you see someone like zooming by, there's a little bit of like that motion blur. This just shows like those different frames of a motion blur, which I think could be really interesting and it feeds into this like catapult aesthetic. Um, I like this. My next concern, at least now that we have this bigger, like we have larger real estate, I'm contemplating whether to even add like the sub headline, like the 36-hour startup sprint or whatever it's gonna be. Um, but that will have to be a design consideration for later. Hmm. Also, now that we have more space, I feel like we can just add these back to whatever this size is, 116. Or is that too busy? Oh, I'm not a fan anymore. Ooh, keeping it at 75. Yeah, oh, damn, okay. I'm kind of turned. I think I figured out why I like it smaller. I think like for this one, when it's all in line, it has this like level of like not only symmetry, but I feel like it's just more visually interesting because it's not too busy. But I feel like when you add more elements like these two buttons, there's just like you don't want it to look just overwhelming. And also, this is not like designed to just be a logo dump, right? Catapult is its own thing. It's its own event. It's just run by these other two organizations. And like I feel like the larger the catapult logo is, the more emphasis is on placed on it. So yeah, yeah, honestly, I'm leaning towards just keeping those smaller for this. But okay, cool. This was fun. Um, I might be doing more of these. I feel like this was just really productive. I could just walk through my train of thought. Um, and we clearly have a lot to get through because I have barely even finished the banner section. So clearly there's more videos to be made. Um, but yeah, sick. Thank you all for